Hi everyone, I'm Allie with the Potomac Bead Company, and I get to introduce and play with a new product for you today. This is our faceted round trio bead. So it's like our round duo, but instead of having 2 holes, it has 3. And honestly, that third hole was created just because it needs a center hole to be faceted. But it is a 6mm faceted round bead that has 3 holes. 1, 2, 3, right lined up right across from one another. We're going to play up these 3 holes. I want you to be able to see the 3 holes and see how they're used. So this is just a simple bracelet. We're going to call this the Jasmine Bracelet, and it is running down the 3 holes just one by one of this round trio bead. So the faceted round trio adds a little sparkle and shine. I'm going to be using it in the Crystal Capri color. In addition to the faceted round trio, I'm also using an 8/0 right on the sides of it, and the 8/0 that I'm going to use for this one is the Picasso Dark Amber Travertine. So I'm going to use that one as my 8/0. I'm going to bring out that Capri color with an 11/0 in the galvanized apricot color, and then my 11/0s, or my 15/0s that run down the sides and also separate out the different round trio beads from the crystals. I'm going to use my 15/0 in the matte Silverline Smoky Amethyst. In between the beads, you really can use anything, but I am going to use one of our Potomac crystals here in that beautiful purpley tanzanite color. So it just has kind of that purple shimmer on the edges. So I'm going to be using that to kind of pull the whole bracelet together and bring that purple and brown theme together. I also have a cup button here, and this cup button is a Magic Orchid cup button, and the top of it is purple, the bottom's green. We're going to be seeing the purpley blue side that's going to go and kind of play up on these colors, and I think it matches really well when you catch that purple of the crystal. The bracelet that I have done as an example also used the faceted cup button, or the faceted button, the faceted crystal one in magic blue. So I'll explain how you would go through both 2 holes or 4 holes. Wire-wise, thread-wise, I'm using 0.006 Wildfire beading thread in green. And I am going to be using 2 needles. You can do this project very simply with 1 needle. I'm going to be doing it with 2, that way for a beginner it's really easy to start with your clasp on and to have that process already added for you. I also am working on a bead mat here to keep my beads from rolling around the table. I have a pliers sitting here ready to use in order to flatten down my thread so I can thread my size 10 needles. And I'm using the Pony brand English style beading needles. And then you want to have some super new glue handy, as well as your thread burner or your slip and snip scissors, so that way you can get really close to the end and cut down the thread once you are there. We are going to start by going down the sides of our project, which uses every bead in our pile here except our crystals. So the crystals are just going to run down the middle. My bracelet length here is about 6 3/4, and I have used 13 of my faceted round trios. So you may want 13 or 14 depending on the length of your wrist, and you're going to do 1 less when it comes to crystals. So whether or not you're using the crystal rondelles like I am, or you're going to use a bicone, you're going to use 1 less of whatever you're doing. So I'm going to be using 12 in my bracelet that I'm going to be making 13 if you're doing a little bit bigger. So to get started here, I have cut a 5-foot piece of beading thread. I've flattened out the end of those threads so that way I could thread my needles easier. And I have 1 needle on either end of my thread. Again, you could do this with 1 needle. I'm preferring to do it with 2 needles. I'm going to start actually by adding my cup button at the start of my project. And what I'm going to do is go through the front of it and come out the back. So I'm going to add, just to add a little bit more of a color in the cup button, I'm going to take 3 of those apricot colored 11/0 beads and drop them down to the bottom of my thread in the middle. I'm then going to go through my cup button, 1 needle going through each end. If you do have a clasp that requires thread to go through or touch metal, you do want to usually use a wire protector. And I have those 3 beads just sitting right inside my cup button there, adding that little bit of that goldeny color of the capri in the 11O apricot seed bead. Once I'm coming out of that, I'm going to add 2 more apricot colors on each needle. So 4 seed beads all together, 2 on the right, 2 on the left needle, and let them drop down. For this next portion, I'm going to be doing the outside and then coming back in to catch the middle of my bracelet here. So for the Jasmine bracelet, we're going to be going through a round duo bead here. The round duo bead that I'm using, this crystal capri color, has a really pretty coating. The way that the coating is applied, it's going to be just on a variety of sides of my bead. One thing that I am going to try to avoid is having a bead that has a complete crystal side facing up, because I just really want to see some of that little goldeny color on each one. So you want to make sure that you're in holes 1 and 3, ignoring that middle bead. And I'm going to pull that bead right down next to my clasp closure. Now that I have my RounTrio bead on, I'm going to decorate the sides of my beads. This is going to be the same pattern here when I'm coming out of the beads, that I'm going to pick up an 8O. I forgot, I'm going to do this one a little bit differently. I'm going to do a 15 and then my 8, just to pucker that out just a tiny little bit more. And then I'm going to do my 111. I'm going to do 2 15s, 111, 1 8, and 1 15. So the pattern is 15, 8, 11, 2 15s, 11, 8, 15. I'm doing that on my right needle, and I'm also going to do it on the left needle. Once I have that on either side, I'm going to simply go down the row and add another RounTrio on. Whenever you add the RounTrios, again, you want to make sure that you're picking up the outer 2 holes, ignoring the middle hole. So I'm going to pick up those outer 2 holes on the extreme sides, and that's going to leave that middle hole blank. So that's going to create a little bit more of a rounded shape from the line shape of the original Jasmine bracelet. I'm going to continue building this, adding on each thread on my right and left needle, the 15, 8, 11, 2 15s, 11, 8, 15, and then my RounTrio, adding the outer 2 holes. Continue that the whole length of your bracelet. There's not going to be much in the way of shrinkage or pulling of the thread, so pretty much true to size is what you're going to do. Again, if you want it to be about the same size as my bracelet, you're looking at about 13 of your RounTrio beads. Once you have that 13th bead on, we'll pick up, I'll show you guys how to do the clasp loop, and then we'll come right down the middle of the bracelet and add that little bit of flair with our Potomac rondelle. Now that I've gotten my sidelines done, I'm going to go in and actually add my loop for my cup button to sit inside. And I'm coming out the last 2, or the outer 2 holes of my RounTrio, that faceted RounTrio. And what I'm going to do is make a loop with my 11O seed beads. I'm going to take one of my needles, either the right or left needle, doesn't matter, and I'm going to add 24 of my 11O seed beads. This is going to be big enough to fit that cup button in. If you would like to glue in a Rivoli to that cup button, you do want to use a couple more, use about 27 beads, because it does have that dome effect to it. So the 10.7 millimeter Rivoli does fit inside a cup button, but you just need to use a couple more of your seed beads in order to go around that. So I'm going to finish putting my 11 O's on here. And once we're done with this clasp, you're actually only going to need your 15s and your crystals out to have those dumped out, ready to go. That's going to add a lot of purple design to my bracelet. I'm going to put the last couple seed beads on. Once I have the seed beads on and ready to go, I'm actually going to take it from the side that I'm on to the center. So that needle is going to come down the center. The needle on the left here that has just been hanging out is going to go through the loop on the opposite side. So I'm going to go back through, and what this is going to do is pull that thread a little bit to one side. So we're almost kind of ignoring that center hole, but we're going to see a little bit of thread through it. So I'm going through right now in order to reinforce that clasp and to get my needles in place. When I'm here out the very end, instead of going into that third hole, I'm also going to go through the middle. So that's going to bring the thread basically to the middle, closing up that center hole because we started on the outside with each side and brought it into the middle. When I'm running down the middle hole here now, what I'm going to do is actually take both threads through my project. So both threads are going to be coming towards the end of the project, so they're both going to be coming towards the cup button. And my pattern for this middle is going to be 2 of my 15s and then my Potomac rondelle. What that's going to do, unlike the previous bracelet where I didn't use those 15-0s on the sides here, I did use the 15-0s here, so it's going to create a little bit of a puckering effect and pushing those last outer ridges out a tiny bit. But I'm going to take both needles basically and put the beads on, and I'm putting on 2 of my 15-0s, then 1 of my crystals, and then 2 15-0s. I'm going to run that down the center line of the round trio bead. So this faceted round trio will have an open hole in the middle, and I'm just going to run that same pattern the whole way down. You can see when I pull it out then it almost creates a little orb that's going to push those other beads out to the side. I'm going to do the same thing then with my other needle here, going through and basically reinforcing that. Pulling it again a little bit tighter so it forces a rounded effect with those outer beads. Once I have that, I'm going to continue the whole way down the line, adding the 2 15s and the crystal and then the 2 15s. So I've gone the whole way down the middle of the bracelet, and the good thing about having 2 strands is you get that extra little pull action from that second strand going through, because you can see that puckering or that rounding effect that I wanted to occur versus the straight effect. If you do like the straighter version, you just want to eliminate the 15-0s on the sides before the 8. I wanted to do this version of the Jasmine bracelet a little bit more so rounded, so those crystals would really stand out and you could really see those 3 lines of the faceted round trios. I'm here at the end and I'm coming out the center hole of the end, and what I'm going to do is split my needles. One needle, just like we did from the other side where we were coming out to the outer holes and then came to the inner, we're going to do the opposite here. One needle is going to go from the inner hole out to the side and up through the cup button, and this happened to be the one going to the left. That's going to pull those seed beads in towards the inner hole. I'm reinforcing that whole cup button clasp, and I'm coming down towards the other side. Out the seed beads. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab those 2 threads that are left here, the one there in the middle still and the one on the side, and I'm going to pull that one on the side in towards the middle by tying a knot. And see, that creates more of that V action. When I tie that knot also, it pulls that bracelet a little bit tugger and a little bit tighter, so that way we maintain that rounded effect. I'm going to tie about 3 square knots, right over left and then left over right, or you can switch hands. So you can switch which thread your hands are holding. You can see I do it here in the video. And that allows me to do a square knot without thinking which thread is going over or under. If you want to and you don't like to glue, you can take your needle and thread back through the project a couple times and do some half hitch knots or some sewer knots. I'm just going to drop a little dab of glue here and cut this thread down really short on the end. Once you have your thread cut down and trimmed, your bracelet is completed. And again, it's a very simple seed beading bracelet, just running down the right side and the left side. The pattern that is on the side can be changed up a lot. The bead going down through the middle can also be changed. That round trio, that faceted round trio, is what's going to bring it all together in order to make it look more complicated and like you had to do a lot of weaving in and out, but really you're just running up the sides and then down the middle. So very simple, and the extra holes are allowing you to complete this much more complicated seed bead project with a much faster and greater ease. Because we did use 2 needles also, it allowed us to put our clasp on right as we were working with it and right as we were making it. Again, if you did want to do something where you were using the faceted cut button, when you came up the end here, instead of using 2 beads coming out the one side, what you would do is use a couple more, about 4 beads coming up, and that's going to allow you room to create a 4Y effect. So those 4 threads would be going into one set of beads there and then filing out into 2. So that's going to allow you to catch those extra holes. I just used the plain 2-hold round duo bead on my clasp closure for the example that I was making. So this shows you how you can use some of these awesome new faceted round trios to get that complicated project look with really a lot of ease. If you get a chance, you can check out our website, potomacbeads.com, and check the locations page. We can send you info for where those stores are. You can get all of your new faceted round trios there, as well as a lot of the other new shapes coming out of the Czech Republic. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll send you regular updates on different projects we do, like this Jasmine bracelet, as well as product updates when we get new ones in. If you do need products and you can't get to one of our physical locations, you can always shop online, and you can do that through potomacbeads.com, or underneath this video here in the description, there's a little show more button. You can click on that and you'll get links to all the different materials that were used in this exact project. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Have fun with all these awesome new shapes that are coming out. And as always, hopefully you guys learn something and get a chance to get your hands on these. Have a great rest of your day and have fun beading.